It felt like going to one of those fireworks displays. And it's supposed to last a half hour, and it lasted 30 seconds. Like, everything went off at once, basically, because the Suns were supposed to have the 10th pick, and they were supposed to have the 29th pick, and you figured they were almost going to bookend the draft to a certain extent. Obviously, 10 is not one, but you get the point. And all of a sudden, as they're making the 10th pick, they basically made their 29th pick, too, because they traded it and a first-rounder in 2029, which should probably be in the mid to late 20s, honestly, in 2029, that pick, to Charlotte for Mark Williams. And it was an interesting experience on the draft show last night, because when it happened, we're like, this is crazy. This is like cool. Like, look what they just did. They addressed this position. They don't have to worry about center anymore. But as you let it sink in, you're like, how much of the excitement was over the Malwatch pick and how much of it was really for the Mark Williams trade? So specifically on the Williams trade, where do you land on this?
Yeah, for me, let me just start with this, Luke, right here. Wasn't it so awesome to actually care about who was being picked in the top 10?
Yeah, it was, honestly.
Wasn't that great? Oh, it was so cool to actually see that. Now, once again, do you want to pick in the top 10 every year? No, you don't want to do that based on earnings. You do not. Ron Wolfley reporting. Yet at the same time, it was awesome to see that, where you were locked in. You knew, oh my goodness, Malawach is falling. He's falling. I think value, when you start talking about value, I think the Phoenix Suns got the most value you could get in this draft by having Kaman Malawach fall to number 10.
Yeah, I agree.
And because of that, it was just awesome. It was great to actually be locked in and witnessing it as it was happening. That was super cool right there, to have a top 10 pick and know that the Suns were involved and were going to be relevant. We're going to be players in the top 10. So that was cool. Having said that, right now, I wonder if they never suspected that Malawach was going to be there at number 10. In all of their mocks, never suspected that, and then suddenly he was there, but had already plowed the road for the possibility of a center and going to get Mark Williams.
I tried to go back. It's tougher to look at like betting odds once the event has happened. I was trying to see because I think you can bet on where each player is going to be picked, or like what each pick's going to be. So I was trying to go back and see what the odds were for him to go at 10 or later. And I couldn't find it, but I know they were high. Let's put it that way. So, I mean, I didn't see in any mock drafts that Malawach was projected to go there. Gambo was on the show last night, and he said multiple times the Suns did not expect him to be there. There's that cut from Brian Gregory earlier that was just like, yeah, we didn't expect him to be there. That he had told Matt Ishbia he's not going to be there at number 10. So let's come up with a plan that doesn't include him. I don't know for sure, but I tend to believe what you're saying. That's kind of the conclusion I came to last night too. Of they were trying to make the move for Mark Williams, figuring they were probably going to draft whoever at 10. That wasn't Malawach, and then he was there. And if that's the case, it probably makes Williams a little redundant, but I like that they stuck with the pick anyway and didn't go, well, position of need, because that's what got them in trouble, not this regime, but that's what got them in trouble with Halliburton. That's what got a previous regime in trouble with Luka. They're like, well, how would Luka and Booker ever play together? Just take the best player.
You know, for me, it's so cool because maybe they were onto this Mark Williams trade, the possibility that it was going to be there, of course. And I'm sure they had plowed the road as quickly as it happened, especially, had already plowed the road for the possibility of, hey, listen, whoever we get at number 10 right there, we'll go ahead and we still know we need a center. We'll get Mark Williams. We have that trade already. And then maybe when Malawach was there at number 10, they were like, oh my goodness, this is working perfectly.
Yeah.
Because now all of a sudden you can go ahead and draft this 18-year-old kid. 18. I can't stress that enough. 18 years old. And maybe we could still go get Mark Williams. Because then all of a sudden Mark Williams will present a little aid, comfort, and shelter to this kid who's 18 years old.
Yeah. I'm torn on the Williams thing, the further we get from the trade, because on the one hand, this is a guy that I don't think people necessarily think is only 23 years old. Was just a first-round pick, 15th overall in the 2022 draft. Seems to be this thought, like, yeah, Mark Williams was about 30. He's been in the league for about, 9, 10.
Yeah, he's 23.
But, he was also the Mark Williams that was traded to the Lakers last year, and everybody was freaking out. The Lakers got this huge piece, and then because of a failed physical, he wasn't going to the Lakers. So there's some risk there. I don't know if they meant to add both of them, but they did get 2 NBA players last night.
Yes.
And that's not a given with the 29th pick in the draft that you're going to get an NBA player.
Yeah, there is a concern about his health, of course. We know that he failed the physical. So there is that. At the same time, the Phoenix Suns don't seem to value a lot of that draft capital, especially if it's happening at the end of the first round.
Yeah.
They don't value a lot of that. And because of that, I still like this deal. I do. 23 years old and long. Going into his 4th season. Now, he's got 1 more year left on his contract.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 1 more year on his contract right here. So we'll have to see what they do, what kind of decision they make. But I wonder, to me, I was fascinated with all of a sudden, Malawach is there at number 10. He's there at number 10. They had to blow their mind that he fell that far to them. And yet they still went out and got Mark Williams. That had to be part of the plan all along.
The reaction nationally wasn't real positive. It certainly was to Malawach. It wasn't so much to Williams. Here's Bob Myers.
They just, in a matter of 10 minutes, added 2 centers to their roster that play the same position. Yes. And look, I like centers. I'm not trying to be critical of them. Centers are the most likely players to be played off the floor. We saw Oklahoma City a week ago. They played big all year, and they got to the finals, and they couldn't really do
Minnesota, where Rudy Gobert.
that happened. So you got to be real careful overvaluing some of these guys.
Here's Bill Simmons on the Bill Simmons podcast with Joe House yesterday.
Phoenix, who now has 2 centers. We'll talk about that.
No, they don't. They have more than 2.
Well,
they still have Nick Richards. For some reason, they decided to acquire the Charlotte Hornets' entire front court.
Right.
I mean, like in less than 6 months.
Right. Charlotte's just trying to get rid of their centers, and Phoenix is like, we'll take them.
Yeah, once again, you got an 18-year-old kid. Would you like to have some guy provide a little aid, comfort, and shelter to that 18-year-old kid who's not 40? To me, I looked at it and thought to myself, they always were going to do it. They were going to go with Mark Williams. They were going to make that trade always, whether Malawach was there or not. Suddenly, he fell to him at number 10. It's even more important. You've got somebody, I think, that is actually going to be able to relate to him. And by the way, Mark Williams, his injury issue, his injury situation, you've got to take that into account as well.
Yeah. I don't hate it. Now, again, his games played, Mark Williams by year, 43 as a rookie, 19 in his second year, 44 this past season. So, I mean, it has been an issue. That's the biggest issue to me. When he plays, I think he's solid. And so at least when he plays, you feel like he's solid. And, if there's value in what you're saying of he can help Malawach develop, he can, to a certain extent, do that even if he's not playing. I mean, you wouldn't trade for a guy if you didn't think he was going to play. I go back and forth on it. I don't hate the idea of just solidifying a position. I mean, it felt like within the matter of 20 seconds, they're like, we don't have any centers that we're counting on. Now we have 2. And again, it's the 29th pick. It's not like it was the 15th pick.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And I also, next time we talk about this, I want to get into this because I think Jordan Ott, his plans for the Phoenix Suns might be all over this. Jordan Ott.
The one thing, and Kellen brought this up on the show last night, and Kellen's going to join us here this 12:30 today. Actually, Eddie Johnson's going to join us at 11:32, so we'll get his thoughts. But Kellen brought this up on the show last night. The one thing he doesn't like, and I see the logic in this, it feels like right now they've made these 2 trades, the Kevin Durant trade and the Mark Williams trade now, that basically mean they have to make additional trades. You know what I mean? Like there's still they got to do something with Nick Richards. Like there's other moves they have to make, but we knew they were going to have to make a lot of moves this summer anyway. So,
thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.